late night, they ain't getting no rest. Work so hard, people think I'm obsessed. Cream at the crop, won't settle for no less. Headed to the top, arena so focused. Yeah, gorilla of the jungle, I've been beating on my chest. I learned from the struggle, it was all just a test.
Hey guys, and welcome back. So today I want to do a little update. We did start to see markets moving yesterday in the altcoins and crypto side of things. A little bit of relief in the stock markets, and a tweet from the president basically telling people to go out and buy stocks. So we've seen this before. We see it again, just all this kind of market manipulation. Luckily, we were able to take advantage of some opportunities that we found. So we're going to flip over here to our chart. Take a look there. So what we see here is the SPY. It was up 0.7% on the day yesterday, opening a little bit higher here today, but pretty much flat. We see gold getting a little bit of relief today. We also see the US 10-year is up, the dollar is slightly down. So still that uncertainty in the market, volatility, although not quite as high as it has been historically, still holding above 20, so not really the best sign. And also, yeah, that 10-year continuing to remain elevated is not a good sign. That's not what we want. We have the FOMC meeting that happened. They are going to continue holding rates at 4.5%. That's exactly what we expected. So not really surprised with that. So we're back on the charts, taking a look. Here is the SPY. Right now, we're coming into that 200-day moving average resistance. So what we saw over here, what we kind of outlined, was this kind of topping pattern, lower highs. We came in, we put in a bit of a reversal here, had a nice rally just above that 200-day moving average, but ultimately got rejected and continued that downtrending movement on the in the following weeks and months. So that's kind of what we're watching, what we want to pay attention to right here. Let's take a look at our momentum indicators, and let's just look and see where this actually topped out, so we can kind of see and just gauge the similar setup. So we look here, you know, RSI is at about 55, and look where it is right now, about 50. MACD, kind of a similar setup here, kind of right in that neutral territory after a pretty deep red histogram. We see our DMI, that orange line, dominantly on top with the red ADX line showing that bearish momentum really being favored, and we've got that blue DMI line angled down, which is what we see over here. And then our vortex indicator, also what we've seen coming from this uptrend. So I've talked about that. When the blue line is the dominant line in the vortex indicator, that means that this is a technical uptrend, and look what you can see, just price climbing up and to the right. And then same thing when when the red line is the dominant line, that means that is a downtrend. So right now, we had an uptrend here. We kind of had a bit of a choppy period here, so uptrend or kind of downtrend, a little bit of consolidation, and then ultimately from there. But what we can see here is a very similar setup that we're looking at right now. So we just pay attention to this. What we do want to, sorry about that. All right, sorry. So what we want to see here is, ideally, if we want our assets to do well, we need that bullish momentum to pick up. We want to start to see the DMI curling up. We want this RSI not to curl back over like it did over here. So we want this angled up, and we want to see that bullish momentum picking up. Right now, the negative line is on top of the positive line. If this holds above, that could be that potential continued downtrend. So pay attention to that and just watch to see kind of how this vortex indicator forms over the coming days and weeks. Could be a potential downtrend that we're looking at right here. Let's take a look at the price action again. So like as we said, coming into the 200-day moving average, you know, pumping pretty well off these lows, and then kind of that higher low on the weekly. So what we're going to wait for is a subsequent higher low on the weekly. We're too extended right now. We are testing resistance. We're kind of near the top of our fair value gap channel. We're also showing some similarities to prior levels here, prior instances in the market that were not sustainable bounces, so we need to pay attention to that. In that event, you know, we are protecting our positions with stop losses. So we've been kind of trading over the we've been trading over the last couple months, so very well. Basically, also with the move yesterday, we managed to catch a few altcoins right before things kind of really started moving, and we saw here Virtual, a nice performer, booking gain or realized 23% returns. I traded this on 10x leverage, so I still have part of the trade open. I've been scaling out, but what we see here is 230% returns on that trade. We see Ondo here at 9.64%, again 10x. I'm looking at 100% returns on that trade. AIOZ 160% returns, so pretty insane. Virtual ran up to even over 500% at one point yesterday. We took these trades less than 24 hours before. It was about 16 hours. I took the trades, I went to bed, I woke up, and things were just pumping. Everything was going up. Virtual ran up 50% in the day. So 500% on leverage, and then Ondo and AIOZ also following there. They were some laggers. Render also doing very well. It was lagging a bit too. So we're starting to see all of the altcoins that were previously in unrealized losses. They're starting to climb their way out, even with some nice performers here. So we see everything from AIOZ up to Virtual. And Virtual, we realized 23% previously, and then we rebought into the asset at $1.37 on the dip when we started to see that structure reforming to the upside, a retest of support, and then we've been riding that. We're up now, 46% returns, but other notable ones, we've got Tau here, 31%, we've got Cass, and we've got Fetch, which are also about 30% returns. So we do see now we've come from negative, basically a majority of altcoins being at a loss, to a majority being in profit. We are positive on our overall returns when it comes to these altcoins. We've also realized 23% returns in that as well. In terms of swing trading, we're at an 81% win rate, so a really good win rate. We've got 97, almost 98% returns here. So these are realized returns as well, so keep that in mind. These are mostly unrealized unless specified right here, and then these are realized because we have either closed the positions or we have stop losses protecting the position. So with Virtual, current stop loss is at $1.95, Ondo 97 cents, AIOZ 45 cents. Worst case scenario, the price drops back, it takes out these positions, and I close those trades, and I've made 160% in terms of AIOZ, I've made 100% on Ondo, and I will have made almost 250% returns total on Virtual. So I'm not, I'm not giving up those gains. I'm not going to let the market take those from me. That's what I say. If investing or trading is your primary source of income, don't forget to pay yourself, because there's going to be times where the market's not necessarily the best for trading. It's not the best environment. It might not be giving you those opportunities. There was a little while there where I wasn't taking that many trades. I was just sitting on my hands because there is so much uncertainty. So we're never in a rush to take trades, and we're also more conservative with our swing trading profit taking, because this is how we pay ourselves. This is how we rebuild our cash position, and that's how we can take advantage of these realized wins and take that money, put it over here into some of our favorite stocks or some stocks that we're interested in. And we've done very well again, 89% of stocks in profit, anywhere from 8% here on MSTY. Also note, we did just get a 10% dividend payment on MSTY, so it was previously up about 16%. So with the dividend, we're looking at about 18% returns on MSTY. We've got MicroStrategy here up almost 43%, 41% here on CoreWeave, Palantir and Baba 25%, and then NVIDIA, the QQQ, and the SPY all about 16% or so. Excuse me. So I'm just really showing you the power of a well thought out strategy and then not executing it. So everything that we've bought and everything tracked on here, I use the exact same technical analysis that I teach you guys or that I share. I just use it on different time frames, so we can pretty much just show you the power. We can use that analysis, use those tools for swing trades, we can use it for spot trades, we can use it for stock trades. So really just want to emphasize that it helps you remove the emotion, it helps you build a plan, it doesn't have you reacting emotionally at the time when things start moving. So we've made our plans, and again, we're not rushing, we're not worried, there's always other opportunities, and we're going to identify those and take those as they come. So we're going to flip back here over to the charts. The SPY, we'll take a quick look at the low time frame, see what we're looking like today. We did kind of come down here, we're holding above that 200-week moving average. We've got a little buy order block here. We are sandwiched into resistance, so pay attention. We don't want to see this price action break, so we're trying to reverse price action to the upside, holding it pretty well on the low time frame. We're above that VRVP point of control. Taking a look at our momentum indicators though, on the low time frame we are losing some momentum, so we see the DMI kind of curling back over without that pretty weak trend here with the ADX quite low, curling over on the RSI, MACD as well, and Vortex indicator. So nothing too crazy here happening on the 4-hour. You know, I'm not interested in buying into this because it's resistance. I want to wait. I think the better play for me, you know, waiting for that subsequent higher low on the weekly. So what we saw is essentially this play to here had a little retracement. We can see coming back to that 618. So what we're going to do is just bump this up to this current rally. So looking at that 618 to 786 from 530 to about 520 would be a potential swing trade opportunity, assuming those lows can hold. Maybe having a stop loss underneath support right here would be a good play. We see gold doing well, continuing its uptrend. So gold showing strength, which is kind of not the best signal. But we do have kind of that lower macro high rate here, so pretty decent. We want to see gold and other risk on assets breaking down, but we are seeing kind of that bullish momentum picking up for gold. So RSI, MACD kind of resetting themselves. We want to see that DMI, it might start kind of curling up, and the Vortex indicator as well. If gold starts performing very well, then our risk off assets might start performing poorly. So we need to keep in mind. We're going to flip over to crypto. We're going to take a look at a few of our metrics here. So USDT dominance, what we have essentially coming to the bottom of our fair value gap channel. We'll take a look at the high time frame. That's kind of more important to me in my opinion, and we'll just clean up this chart a little bit because we don't really need a lot of this technical analysis tools on this chart in my opinion. We just see here essentially we kind of have where also I'm going to pull up a comparison to total 3, so just comparing to our altcoins here and just cleaning the chart up. So what I want to see is just show you how the lows in USDT dominance kind of coincide with the peaks. So in this cycle here, we actually had a few different lows and a few different peaks. So we saw almost this head and shoulders pattern on the total 3 here. And that coincided with this low, and then with this back test here. So we also have this upsloping trend line that's previously acted as support. You know, support all through here, multi-cycle trend line. We deviated a little bit below here, but we regained it. So we'll see if we can hold it as support. This is also interesting though, we have lost the 200-week moving average, so it did support it in the prior cycle here, but we have lost it. It is now resistance, so we'll keep that in mind. But what we saw is our first peak here with this low, we saw a secondary peak with this low, and now we're going back up and price is coming down. So we have to see if this looks like it's going to start to bottom. That could be that secondary or lower high. Same thing that we saw over here. So we saw our first peak, secondary peak, lower high, bear market. That could play out again where we have first peak, secondary peak, lower high, bear market. That could play out. It definitely could, especially if a recession materializes or we don't get any advancements on the geopolitical front. So USDT dominance is one we need to watch for our altcoins. Right now, altcoins are performing very well, so we're just riding the positions up in profit and then looking to add on the retests if our indicators reset. Bitcoin here at about 103,000. We're going to get rid of that, and we're going to get rid of that, and then we'll pull up our normal indicators here. So we've got our Bitcoin pair strength, we've got directional movement index, we've got we've got our moving average convergence divergence, we've got RSI, and we've got our vortex indicator. So We've got lots of different indicators. Bitcoin pair strength helps gauge the strength of Bitcoin relative to the stock market, so it's an important metric in my opinion. We've got the DMI and the Vortex tell us a little bit about the trend and momentum, and the RSI and the MACD is kind of what tells us more about the general oversold or overbought nature of the asset. So what we see here, we're looking like we want to get a bullish cross on the RSI, or sorry, on the MACD. We did have a bullish cross on the RSI. But we also have to note we had a bullish cross on the RSI over here and almost a bullish cross on the MACD, not quite. So just pay attention. Also similar kind of DMI setup here where the orange line is on top and curling back down. So we need to see what happens. If this bounces and continues up, that's that downtrend momentum that I talked about. So we're continuing to pay attention to this for now. Kind of mixed signals on the weekly for it could continue up. But there's also some similarities to over here. The one major difference is on this move, we went up into the 200-day and got rejected. Right here, we are currently above the 200-day. So that's the major difference. We're above the 200-day. As long as we can hold the 50 and the 200-day and we start to see that 50-day curling back up, that's kind of a bullish setup again. So we'll take a look at the low time frame. And see here, yeah, so you can see how we're on top of our 50 and our 200-day moving average. We'll get rid of the Bitcoin pair strength indicator for now. It is at all-time highs right now, so uptrending price action remains on the low time frame. We want to see that 50-day curling up and breaking above the 200-day. That's that signal of that uptrend continuation, and then expect price to come back, retest those moving averages before continuing up. But we also see the bullish trend losing a little bit of momentum here on the low time frame. It's still maintaining itself on the Vortex indicator. RSI is overheated and MACD is overheated. So I would expect just a typical retracement. If we look at our daily chart, we can kind of see what extension we're, sorry about that, daily. And then let's look and see what kind of extension we're looking at from a Fibonacci basis. So we pretty much haven't retested any support since down here. If we could say, like, if we pulled this up to there, you know, we came back to that 0.5. We could consider that a valid retracement just because of the relative strength Bitcoin is currently showing. So I'm going to pull up my Fibonacci from here to here, and that's that retest of that kind of zone in here, which is also these moving averages. So if we come back here, look to maybe take a bit of a swing position in the low 90s, stop loss below support here, and then hopefully we get that continuation leg to the upside. We're going to flip to Bitcoin dominance, taking a major hit here and breaking down out of the wedge. So this is a really good sign for altcoins, for a potential alt season. Whether this is a sustainable alt season, it's really going to depend, but this is what we want to continue seeing, just this breakdown. Bearish setup here, look at that. So we see a huge cross of the Vortex. We want to see continued bearish momentum on Bitcoin dominance. It might do something like this though. So watch for price, come down and come back, retest this support as a lower high. If it gets rejected right here, that's a pretty good signal that, you know, we could be due for a sustainable leg up in alts, or at least a little bit of a leg up in alts, whether it's just, you know, this lower cat, dead cat, lower high bounce, or it's actually a sustainable another leg in the bear market. It doesn't matter. We have positions. We're going to protect them and we're going to trail those stop losses and maintain that exposure. But watch for something like this to happen in Bitcoin dominance. That's a good signal that we will get more relief in alts. ETH is doing very well here, getting big relief, but coming into resistance. Not really chasing this one right now, guys. I don't like chasing stuff like this because, you know, some news could come out today that completely changes everything. So I don't chase, I don't buy into charts like this. I wait for the higher low retests. I wait for the proper setups, and then I execute those. Ethereum, Bitcoin finally being able to break above that 50-day moving average. So what do we see here? Let's take a look at kind of a prior example. This is why we were avoiding it for now, and we zoom back to the prior cycle in here. Look at price bleeding down And then even here, this was the first time, look at this. So even though it got back above that 50-day here, it wasn't able to hold. It still got a higher low, but ultimately continued downtrending here. So there is the opportunity that ETH actually does get a nice push up, but it could still continue selling off, though. We could even push into that 200-day. Watch for that higher low retest, regaining the 50-day as support. I think total 3 looks better to me, in my opinion. Just looking at this, we had similar to what we had over here. Downtrend, breakout, back test of the 50-day, and nice move there. So that's exactly what happened again, guys. That's why I focus on technical analysis, because a lot of these tools, a lot of these patterns, they generally play out over time, time and time again. So here we have total 3, another one. We're not chasing it. We have some of our altcoin positions I talked about. You know, we're riding those in profit and we're looking for opportunities, but this isn't something you want to chase, guys. Like, altcoins were up 20 to 40% in a day. So wait for the higher lows in the assets that you want to build positions in. Looking at others dominance here, still, you know, so this is another thing. When you look at others dominance, it doesn't look any stronger than it did before. It's still a lower low, it's still a lower high. Total 3 looks better. If you're going to be getting into alts, total 3 is kind of what I would recommend there. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to get too far into individual alts because things have pumped like crazy. We're not chasing things on a green day where things are really moving. You know, get back on the charts, find those levels, look for those higher low entries, look for the assets showing really good relative strength, and then try to figure out what is the best positioning in those. Over the next couple days, we will take a look at individual assets, but for now, we still are unsure. You know, we have to let the markets tell us what's going to happen. So for now, we'll just continue waiting patiently, maintain our exposure that we have, keep trailing those stop losses up, protect those gains, compound and realize those gains when it makes sense, and then deploy that cash back into the market at the technical levels that we're going to find. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.